and accept.
Okay, the recording should have started now.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this one-word intention workshop. I'm Jenny Starr. I'm the Health and Wellness Specialist for the Kansas City Public Library. And our presenter today is Sandra Wallace with Jewish Family Services. She is the Director of Mental Health Programs, and she has partnered with us on lots and lots of programs over the last few years. So we're really happy to have you here, Sandra. And if there's anything you want to share about JFS, feel free to go ahead and do that. I'll just turn it on over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jenny, and thanks, Karen, for inviting me to join this audience today. This is the second time I've done this workshop for the public library. I did it last year about this time as well, and we had a pretty good response. So we thought we would do it again. As Jenny said, I am the Director of Mental Health Programs at Jewish Family Services here in Kansas City. So we are a social service agency who provides support and care for folks in our community, regardless of age, of culture, of faith, of background, regardless of zip code, which is one of the things I am most proud of. We operate on both the Kansas and the Missouri side of the state line. And so jfskc.org is our website if you want to find out any more about us. We have counseling services, food pantry services, older adult care, case management, and the list kind of goes on and on. So we approach humans from a very holistic space in that we know that no one part of our lives and our days stands alone without the impacts of all the others. So thinking about our mental health care and food insecurity or financial insecurity, all of those have roles to play together. So that's who we are as an agency. I've been here for about 3 years, and prior to that, I was in the school setting. So I was a teacher and a building administrator, district administrator for about 25 years. And the idea of a one-word intention came across my email. I could have been standing in an old-fashioned bookstore about 10 years ago and saw the book that's called One Word, and it got me a little bit curious. So since about 2015, I've been practicing this philosophy, if you will. And so I'm just here today to kind of give you a little bit of information, also give you some space and some time to maybe consider this as something that you would want to do. And again, we know how precious everybody's time is. Maybe a few minutes to think about it and see if this is something you want to move forward with. One word intention started from a couple of really good best friends clear back in 1999. Maybe some of us remember the good old days back before 2000. And they were on an airplane, and one of them said to the other, "So what's your theme going to be for this year?" And the friend said, "My theme? What are you talking about?" And the other buddy kind of went into this whole spiel about, "I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, and it's going to be attached to this and this and this and this and this." And then they were like, "Whoop, time out. I don't need a sermon." This was the quote. "I asked for a word or a theme, not a sermon." This is what the quote from the book is. And so they really kind of became, if you will, some accountability partners for thinking about a word or a theme that they would live by, if you will, for that calendar year. Historically, we've thought about this as like a New Year's resolution. And the stats tell us that 87% of adults create a New Year's resolution. And if I remember correctly, only about 10% of that 87% actually go through the year fulfilling that New Year's resolution. So the term New Year's resolution and that activity or that practice has obviously we've done that for decades and years, centuries, but the outcomes really haven't been that great. So when we think about doing things with intention, that give us the outcomes that we want, New Year's resolutions don't tend to stick. So these two friends came up with this idea. They did it together for a couple of years, and as they were just telling other folks about it, they realized that this was kind of a niche, or this was a piece that was missing in, if you will, pop culture, or missing in mainstream. So as any two good friends do, they hit the pavement and they turned it into a whole movement and are making lots and lots of money from it now, I'm sure. There's books, there's websites. I have no doubt there's a podcast even about it. But it really, it does give us a framework, and it gives us some real intention about how we go through the days of a particular year or a particular time span. I've been referencing a calendar year. However, this concept can be used for any particular time frame, or even for, as the phrase is now these days, a season in your life, right? It could be for a particular season of your life. Is there anyone on the call that is familiar with this, or as I kind of described it, you're like, oh, that does sound familiar. I've heard that before. I see Mary's shaking her head no. Okay. We've got a couple other folks. I need to maybe switch my view so that I can see everyone.
I feel like a cheater because obviously I've been in this workshop before with you, Sandra,
yes.
but I've done it 2 years now, and I have really found it to be a helpful tool
Cool.
as a guiding thought and a
Right.
guiding intention.
Yeah. I saw Matthew put his thumbs up too, so he is familiar with it as well. Matthew, would you mind sharing, if you don't mind coming off your mute and sharing what you do know, so that I can maybe help push it along?
Less a season, but I've experienced this as an intention setting for a calendar year, so that you're trying to find the one thing about the year that is your focus.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that the book and the resources that I've pulled from in the past don't always, or haven't really said specifically that it can be for a season of your life or for a period of time. That's the Sandra Wallace modification. Because as I've done it over the years, there have definitely been years that I've stayed true to that word, right? I will tell you, last year, I had a word, and I even have it in my notes from when we did this last February. And then in May, my word changed. And so, and permission granted, right? Like we're all humans, and we can do that. We're in charge of our own words and celebrations, right? So I'm going to kind of walk us through what and how to go about doing this. And Matthew, or any of the other folks on the call, if you please jump in. I would love for this to be as conversational and not just me talking at you, if you will. I'm going to get to my PowerPoint, if I can, here real quick, so that I can walk through this. I think that might be the best way to just keep us on track, if you will.
And I'll just throw in there, while you're doing that, Sandra, I posted in the chat that we have a access through Hoopla to the audiobook, One Word That Will Change Your Life by John Gordon. So
Perfect.
yeah, just letting that people know.
Okay, very good. Okay, so I'm going to go to screen share. Hopefully this is all going to play nice. And let me go up here to present. Oh, I've got, show me this guy up here. Okay. Did that all work?
Looks great, Sandra.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. That muscle memory, right? That we never had before of how to do all of these things. We've created some muscle memory here. Okay, so thinking about how we go about doing this. Once the two authors of this work, once they really, again, did it for a couple of years just as accountability partners, then they really kind of started to unpack and really look at, so what have we been doing? They grabbed some other folks and had them join, if you will, this process. And they were able to really begin to look at, so what are, or where are the words that, where would the words land in these dimensions of life? So we think about our spiritual life, our emotional life, those relational parts, our mental health, our financial, and our spiritual. And they were able to really look at the words that folks were choosing and put them into each or one or a couple of those different categories or dimensions. The research now, 20 plus years after this has been going on, really continues to show that it is kind of a proven way to create clarity and power and passion to make some pretty significant life changes, or to have that impact that we all, with good intentions, have had with our New Year's resolutions, but have not always found the success and the outcomes that we would like to have. So thinking about a word and then having it fall into one of those categories is kind of where we start. One of the pieces in the center of that circle you'll see is a heart, and that's, again, very intentional. They talk to us about our word, really the ultimate goal of that word and the impact and the intentionality of it is that it changes our heart. It changes how we spend our days, how we walk through the different seasons of our life. Our ultimate goal, right, is that that over the course of a calendar year, we have done it, we have practiced it, we have lived it, that after that calendar year, it sticks with us, right? It truly has changed us with that purpose and that practice. So thinking about that is the ultimate goal through that kind of that change of heart. So they talk about that because as we begin the process, the first thing is to prepare your heart. So just really being quiet, being aware, kind of listening, right? Listening to your own self-talk, listening to input that's coming in, really pausing, right, to listen to your heart. The second piece of that is then discovering the word that kind of continues to resonate or rise to the top, a word that maybe every time you do pause for a moment, you think, oh, this is the word that comes to mind. And then the third part of that is to live the word. So those are they seem like super simple steps, right? But there's definitely a great deal more depth in them. I will also kind of throw out the disclaimer here that the two folks that developed or put this into mainstream or publicized it, if you will, and then followed it up with the research, there is a faith component or a religious component to it. It does not have to be connected to any particular faith or particular religion. And if you get the book, you'll hear some of those themes throughout the book. However, if we just pull out the steps and the intentionality and the impact, then it is obviously very universal and not connected to any particular faith or religion. Just want to say that out loud, though, so that there isn't any misunderstanding there. As we go through it today, it will just be universal conversation. Any questions about those steps before we start unpacking them, or any thoughts there? Okay, so when we think about preparing our heart, and this is going to be an opportunity for you, for for all of us to have maybe some awkward silence, but time, right, for you on this call during this session right now, to not just take the information away and then be like a week later, oh, I never did any of those things that I learned about in that session. I really want you to be able to have some of that time to do it today. So there's 3 big questions that we are asked when we want to begin preparing our heart for this one-word intention. And the questions are, what do I need? What's in my way, or what are the barriers? And then what needs to go? Are there things that I need to stop doing, or that I need to let go of in order for me to feel, to hear, to sense what your heart's telling you? So for some awkward silence, I should have had some music queued up, but I want you to just pause for a minute and think about what, if you've got a piece of scratch paper, or you've got something that you can jot some things down, take advantage of these few moments right now to kind of disengage from all the busyness or the emails that are sitting in your inbox, or distractions that are around you. And think about what do I need? You might have come up with a few things that you need. And so then take a minute to transition into what's in my way? What's in the way of getting what you need? And that last part of what needs to go. So if you've had a few minutes to think about what you need, and then what's in that way, and then what needs to go, I'll take just another minute for that. Okay, so that's been about 3.5 minutes of awkward silence on a Zoom call, but I hope that it gave you at least a few minutes to, if nothing else, just to slow things down, right? You might not have all of those answers yet, and that's okay. But hopefully it allowed you just to slow down a little bit to prepare your heart. Is anyone comfortable that's on the call, comfortable kind of sharing either any of those 3 things, or what your thoughts are in this moment in time? We certainly don't have to. Okay. And Jenny and Karen, if somebody pops up with a hand, would you just be sure to let me know? Because I can't see all of them. Perfect. Okay. Oops. Oh, golly, I went all the way to the end there, didn't I? Let me go back. Okay. So this is where we were with preparing our heart. The second step.
Sandra, we do have a hand if you wanted me to interrupt you. Sorry about
please
that.
do. Please do.
Stephen, I noticed you posted in the chat. Did you want to unmute and chat about your thoughts with us?
Sure. Can you go back to the last screen, or just give me the order of the what was the first what do I need?
Yes.
Well, for me, like I said, I'm an avid gardener, and I am so amazed each and every time I see a seed break the soil. What do I need? I would need excellent soil, excellent bed of nutrients, food that would supplement the seed and enhance its ability to grow. I don't know who told the roots to go down and the leaves to go up, but it is a miracle to me each and every day. I go up in my garden, I got a little seed bed that I use indoors, and some, just simple stuff, bell peppers. It's easy. I choose something that I'm not the best farmer, but I choose easy plants that build my confidence.
Sure.
So I've had stuff go dry. And I can't understand it's the same soil, but the stuff that does grow readily and easily, I continue that because it builds my confidence.
Yeah.
I take bell pepper seeds that I buy from the grocery store and set them on a cardboard box or tissue paper for them to dry out, and then I'll put them in my cedar, and I have bell peppers inundated all year round. The thing that gets in my way is me.
Oh, interesting.
I get in the way. I procrastinate. I don't refresh my soil. I don't supply nutrients, and I'll look at it, and my bed will just be without anything at all, lifeless. And I'll tell myself, well, when you get off your patootie and go put some nutrients in there, you can start all over. Whenever I want, I can start again. So I am my biggest opposition. I'm the one that's in the way because I am a procrastinator. I will look at it, and I will look at it for days and weeks and on end. And then when I do get started, I'm in the process of adding some Pedialyte and refurbishing or re-nutrient in my soil now. And I'm like, wow, I could have did this 3 weeks ago. Why didn't you? And I would blame it on the weather. It was a snowy day, a rainy day. Oh, it was a cloudy day, or it was too sunshine and I had to go out. So I make excuses for myself. And then when I do get it done, weeks may have passed.
Yeah.
What needs to what needs to go? The procrastination. The procrastination needs to go. Again, I'm in my own way, but I get so every day. I said miracles every day. I got a 72 bed seed tray full of seeds, and each time one breaks the plane or the soil, I say, man, that's a miracle.
Yeah.
And I don't have to go out there, and you don't have to raise the dead. You don't have to walk on the water. You don't have, but I know that the roots know to go down and the leaves know to go up. And that right there gets me, it just gets me going. It gets me going when I'm down. It gets me going when I'm up. And I look at it, and especially in days where, like the other day, it snowed and it rained and the weather was like yucky. And I go up in my garden and I see a seed pop in the soil, and it's like, that is
Mm.
so, I allow it to amaze me every time I see it. And the only thing that's in the way again is me. And if I don't see it, it's because I'm just walking in my garden and staring at it and not breaking the dirt, not churning it, not planting seeds. And it's like, I'll do it tomorrow. And it's like, well, tomorrow when you come back, it's going to look the same way.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, I guess I get in there and, add some nutrients and some, worm emulsification and other nutrients and
Right.
everything, and then put my seeds in, and then it's like Christmas. When I put the seeds in there, man, I'm checking it twice, and I'm watering it, and I'm running up in there just to see the seed break the plant.
Mhm,
It's a miracle every
Yeah.
day. I tell my
Yeah.
kids, I tell my friends, I said, you don't have to wait on it. You do not
Yeah.
have to wait on it. You can see a miracle every day if you just get your little garden.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that you're so aware of it, right? Like that's a huge piece of
Yeah.
just being aware of that miracle or that growth, which also growth just represents, or planting represents so much growth in so many different ways. Yeah, absolutely. Great perspective. Well, thinking about that word, I mean, Stephen, you definitely know the word that describes what's getting in your way, right? Let's see if we can be thinking now about what word would shift that, right? What word would help us to shift from what we know that maybe we are or that we do. In the book, they describe it from what we do to who we are or what we want to be. Right? So maybe what we do is we procrastinate. So then flipping that conversation to who do we want to be? Challenge you to not say a non-procrastinator.
Take action. Take action.
Take action. Right.
Take
So like
action.
action can be part of that word. Again, thinking about, we had those few minutes before when you were, spending some time thinking about those 3 questions. Again, today, by the end of this session, that whether you're, listening live right now or listening later, there's a really good chance that you won't have that word, in the next 30 minutes. However, bringing your awareness to it and being ready, preparing your heart as we did, listening and being aware of the things that are around you, or situations or conversations that continue to circle back, or maybe a specific word that is repeated through different circumstances and different experiences. Those are the things to discover, right? Listening to those words, what are the things that present themselves to you that maybe you weren't expected, right? You may, nobody was expecting the snow day yesterday, right? But it happened and it presented itself. What is something we can pull from that? Thinking about words that bring you peace, right? So if we think about your great example, Stephen, with procrastination, sometimes procrastination or worry, like those things, they kind of get you wound up sometimes, right? Thinking about a word that is more of a calming, or that action word, the word that you want to be, right? That brings kind of more of a peace or a calm. Also words that bring you hope, right? Like, that those seeds are going to grow and come out of the soil. So that's a sense of hope. The ultimate goal with your word is that focus, right? So you can, throughout the calendar year or throughout this chunk of time or this season of life, it really gives you that focus. When you have those moments of peace and you have the moments of hope, and you're able to listen, right? It comes back to that same focus. So again, you might not have that one word by the end of today, but I would challenge you to think about, there's several different ways that you can kind of keep track of those words that are presenting themselves or that show up or that you hear over the next week, month, until you land in that spot that you're like, this is my word, right? if you have and I am like index card, I use index cards for everything, right? So I just have one even in my wallet that just says words. And so sometimes I just keep it there and I will write down a word that for some reason is just like, as I say, Jenny, swirling around in me and I can't let it go, or I'm like perseverating on it for some reason. I don't know why I'm perseverating on it, but what that tells me for Sandra is that I need to write that word down, that there's something to that word that is resonating with me. You also, I also have a list in my phone of words. So just a note that I just, as a word comes up, I'm like, I'm going to add that to my one word list. Sometimes I go back and I look at it, like as I read these words, or any of them like presenting stronger or showing up more. A sticky note, you know, a whiteboard that you might have, but I would encourage you or challenge you to think about and not make it something different than systems that you already have, right? Like if you're already an index card person, as I am, then just use that system, right? Don't make a new system. If you're already somebody that puts notes in your phone all the time or on a device, just keep that system and make a new tab or a new note that says one words. And then let those present themselves until you get to that point that you're like, oh, I heard that word again. I'm getting ready to write it down. Maybe that's my word. Maybe that's my word for the year. As I said earlier, the text really talks a lot about shifting from the to do to the to be goals, and what we accomplish or what we want to become. It seems sometimes obvious. Oh yes, I want to become a better person. Or one year, one of my words was happiness. And this is Jenny when we were doing our happiness habits. But as I went through the year, I also realized what gets me to that happiness, right? That's the end result. But what are the actions that I need to take? And Stephen, that's what you described, right? What are those steps? What's the actions? So thinking back now and looking at that word that I have here in my notes from 2020, really my word could have been being present, right? Like being present. That's an action. That's what I can do that then gets me to the happiness. Right? You have to do something to get to the happiness. It doesn't just like, whoo, wake up in the morning, happiness, whoo, I'm happy. It's either you had a good night's sleep, you took a cold shower, whatever it was, but I had to do something to get there. Once in 2020, when I started really looking at the action associated with the word, my words kind of started changing and definitely started having more meaning. A couple of the words that I've had in the past, in 2021, I used the word simplify. And so as I did different things, as I cleaned out all of the plasticware in my cabinet, simplify, right? Like that's the goal, is to simplify. And that's an action, to simplify things. Thinking about meal planning, that's to simplify those decision-making points of the day that are really hard when you've kind of exhausted all your decision-making skills at 5 o'clock, right? Thinking about, again, those words that bring you that peace and that focus. Any questions or thoughts on that before we go on? Is anybody brave or has a word that's just in this, 30 minutes together that's starting to swirl around for you? Okay. So the third step of the process is to begin living your word. And with living your word, again, I'm sorry, Karen, did you, or is there some stuff in the chat?
Mary put forward her cat suggestion, who is apparently another participant in the meeting.
Yes.
And her cat says tuna is the cat's word. undoubtedly Jenny's cat would say the same thing, who also
Yes.
always wants to be part of every meeting.
So some of that might even be nutrition, right? Like healthy food or something along those lines. Yeah, absolutely. I love that, Mary. Thank you. Thank you. When we start to think about living our word, again, a couple things that are very intentional and that the authors of this practice, if you will, have included in their research. The first one is visualizing, not only visualizing in your head, but also just visually having the word written, posted, seen in spaces throughout your day and your world, right? The year that I did Simplify, of course, I go to a big box store and I find the progressive commercials, that the parents have to write live, laugh, love on their walls in case they forget. Well, there was a Simplify, right? There was a, of course, very, attractive, matched my decor in my house, the whole 9 yards. And so I buy it. And honestly, it's still hanging on the wall in that spot when I got it that year. And it is that visual reminder. So whether it's something that you buy at a store, something that you paint, or it's a Post-it note, right? On my computer, I almost went to grab my computer and show you, but that would not be a good idea. On my computer, my laptop, I have a really super sticky Post-it note, and it says my word this year is health. So physical, mental, and financial health. And that is on my laptop here. So I see that every day. Folks also talk about, writing it on, using a dry erase marker and writing it on your mirror in your bathroom or in rooms of your house. Or again, Post-it notes, index cards, whatever system that's right for you, but representing it visually. So it kind of stays right in your line, your sight line throughout your days and months ahead. The other thing kind of along those same lines is that it's in all spaces. So not just in your home, but maybe also in your workspace, maybe in your vehicle. There was one year I had a note in my vehicle because my word, I think, let's see, I'll have to look back to see what my word was, but it had something to do with, like managing your responses to traffic and so forth. So it was really important for me to keep my peace, right? Like peace, it's going to be okay. I'm going to get where I need to go. It's going to be fine. But posting that in your vehicle, right? Or on something that in a space even that might be kind of activating to you. If you've, if every time you walk into X, Y, or Z space, if it kind of activates some emotions, then it would be really important to include that word in that space. And then the third part is to share it. So like I mentioned, where this started with two very best friends on an airplane, they became accountability partners, and then they are, probably millionaires now, I don't know, but they held each other accountable for it. And they tell the story that they also started doing it within their family, just the folks that they live with. And it was great that, whether it's a Friday evening dinner that they always shared, or a Sunday afternoon lunch that they always shared, they checked in with everyone about how they were doing with their word. And so that's that family dynamic of sharing. It could be somebody that lives in your apartment complex that knows about your word. And each time you see each other, you're just like, how's the health going? Where's your peace today? Right? And so it could be simple things like that. It could also be as as sophisticated, if you will, as okay, every Thursday morning we meet at the coffee shop and we check in on each other and see how things are going with that accountability piece. So sharing, as we know, just with lots of different things, is one of the best ways. You know, the old proverb where if you teach someone how to do something, then you learn how to do it even better. So sharing that and having that conversation also is really motivating, right? So as somebody else is sharing an experience with you, it's motivating for you to want to do that as well. Like I'm kind of thinking I might need to get some seed packets, Stephen, or like pull seeds out of my apples this from my
I do. Anything that I buy from I have a lemon tree from lemons that I purchased from the produce section. I've grown strawberries from taking the razor blade and peeling out the outer layer from strawberries from the grocery store. I mean, I am so sewn into it that I've got walnuts that I'm trying to figure out how to seed. I've got acorn trees from a house next door and I've yet to learn how to make them grow, but I know it's a seed. So anything that I see, I mean, I'm looking at pineapples, cantaloupe. When I get to the produce section, all I see is potential seeds. They say that what's the Windows guy? What's his name? The guy that makes Windows, Bill Gates. Bill Gates has a seed museum.
Oh, interesting.
A seed museum of every kind of seed out there. And it's like, why does this guy? They're doing a lot of seedless grows now. You can't like seedless grapes. You can't get a grape seed. If it's seedless grape, they've got all of this stuff, and I'm thinking we're at a time where you can't do anything about the price of food going up, but you can offset it if you start your little garden.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Great. To the point where I might even do a few. The Kansas City Community Gardens had a flyer where you could buy chicks. Oh. And I was like, wow, that's.
Thank you so much for sharing, Stephen. I just wanted to interrupt with a few things I missed in the chat. So some people are super excited for the recording. So hello to future people on the recording.
Yes, absolutely.
And Mary said, this makes me think of a line I've always loved. Not sure who said it. The mind can calculate, but the spirit yearns, and the heart knows what the heart knows.
What the heart knows. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Stephen, I missed what you said, something about miracles every day is your phrase as a gardener, year round, indoors and out. When you see a seed push through the soil, it's so amazing each and every time.
Yeah.
I really like that theme. Thanks for introducing that today. And Mary says, great share, Stephen. Thank you. And Wanda says, this is great. Stephen, I'm also a gardener. Pineapples are fun. Jenny, Stephen, Jenny will reach out to you for inspiration for some of our gardening programs at the library. Sounds like we should get together.
Yes.
And then Mary is sharing, and the Rees branch of the Kansas City Public Library has a seed garden for even more seeds. Great point. The seed library, yes, that's right. It will be one of the links I'll post in the chat after we wrap up. And I just want to invite anyone else to unmute and kind of share what's on their mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully I didn't miss anyone else in the chat there. Sorry about that.
No, that's great. That's great. Yeah. As you were saying, Karen, it's amazing how quickly the time goes, isn't it? I was like, oh goodness. The last slide that I have is just some resources, and that we will, if we can do a follow-up email out to folks that registered, we can certainly get those to you. I would love for us to just unmute and share any words that are kind of resonating with you. Sometimes we need to hear words from other folks in order to get our juices flowing, if you will, or seeds growing, to think about the words that might be coming up. Mary, I see you're unmuted.
Yes. Well, I have about 20 different words that I like, but the one that is drawing me at this point the most is the word choice, as a reminder that in any situation or with anything I'm involved in, I always have a choice. how to respond, and it's on me.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Thank you. I have a
Ooh. Oh, go ahead.
nope. Go ahead, Jenny.
No, just I've been noodling. That's my word now.
Yes.
I stole it from someone else, but I like it. I've been thinking about connection, especially coming out of the world we've been coming out of, and also contentment. In the sense of like not always wishing things were different than they are, and being able to be happy in how things are, not how you wish they could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Right now.
I have this massive list, and contentment's not on there. So great job, Jenny. That's awesome.
As an old Marine, we used to say Semper Fi.
Yes.
It's always loyal.
Yes.
I use that still to this day. Loyal to myself,
Mhm.
loyal to my community, and loyal to my cause. I am a leader by servitude.
Mhm.
If I'm not serving someone, I do not feel content with, I don't have the riches of life. I am content with where I'm at, but if I'm not serving someone else, I feel a void. So I stay loyal to myself, to my cause, and to my community.
That's awesome.
Semper Fi.
Yes.
And I know a little Latin.
That's awesome. And if you ever want to volunteer, we need volunteers all the time at JFS.
No, I do, Sandra. Actually, I've started this Vista back in August, and since then I've actually started my own nonprofit called Big Community. And
yes, Stephen, I recognize you from AmeriCorps Vista meetings. It's nice to see you here.
I've patterned my nonprofit after the Jewish farm website, where
The Jerusalem Farm.
Have the you have the once a month meal come. I hadn't been able to attend yet, and then you've got like a tool bank. I'm a former contractor. I've got tools everywhere, so I'm actually looking to for someone to help mentor me in developing the Big Community nonprofit that I started. I've got a little piece of property next to an orchard here in Blue Hills. And a lot of what I'm doing is being patterned after what you guys are doing with the Jewish farm. So I would love to
we'll have to take that offline for sure.
continue
That's
to
good.
build some dialogue.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you about that, Stephen.
That's great.
I'm seeing in the chat, just to interrupt real quick, unless anyone wants to unmute, Matthew, Wanda, if you wanted to restate what you said in the chat, it's very beautiful.
Sure. I'm kind of stuck between two words, both of which happen to be Japanese. Kaizen, which is a philosophy of continuous small improvement. Like a lot of people, I've come out of the last few years feeling in some ways less than before. So the other word that I'm contemplating is kintsugi, which is directly translated as golden repair. And it's a process of mending broken objects with a plaster mixed with gold so that the repairing of the damage creates a thing of beauty.
Cool. Karen, in the chat, did he spell those?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I phonetically spelled them, but I know that's incorrect. But I golden repair and continuous small improvement. Those are great. Fantastic.
Yes, I remember reading a book about kintsugi, and the artwork is very beautiful. It's not just art; it's also a spiritual act to repair something in that way. From what I learned, but also I learned I am personally very allergic to poison oak, and apparently there's a Japanese plant that they use in the gold mixture that is cousins with poison oak. So being from Western descent, they recommend actually not touching it while it's wet or doing the artwork with gloves on. But the end product is safe and very beautiful.
Yeah. Wow. There's lots of learning going on here today.
Wanda, did you want to unmute and say any comments?
She may not have.
Oh, okay.
If you'd like.
I feel a little awkward because I'm off work today, so I'm kind of just, I saw the email at the last second and decided to duck in. So I'm sitting here in my house in my pajamas, and anyway, yeah, I've kind of been pondering this actually for probably at least the last month to 6 weeks, but I didn't know that this concept was out there. And so I've been working towards my own personal growth and peace and independence in some areas. So, and it's a lot. I'm, when I'm not at my job, I'm doing a lot of things personally. And so it is a lot, but it's going to be worth it.
It will. It will. That's great. And I hope, Wanda, that this structure, if you will, or, sometimes if we can kind of put things in a logical or a structured system, then it allows it to present a little bit easier, or we can feel a greater sense of accomplishment from what we're doing for our care, for our own personal care, because we've got a system, if you will. Sometimes we try to do so many different things and they're just all swirling around. Just as one of the slides said, this really gives you some focus and some clarity for what that word might be for you. So
yes, this has been excellent. I did look at the library catalog. We don't have the book, but I will look at it on Hoopla.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, I do appreciate everyone's time this afternoon, and appreciate those of you that might watch this online a little bit later. Encourage you that as the different moments in our time together, when we kind of paused and had kind of some quiet time, give yourself that same quiet time to listen and feel and respect, if you will, the words and the heart that's coming for you. So I really wish you all the very best, and thank you, Jenny and Karen, for inviting me to do this session again. I really enjoy it, and it's just great to see you all, and wish you all the very best.
Sandra, thank you so much for presenting this. And as you can all see, Sandra is a wonderful presenter and partner, and you can see why we work together so much. Just really appreciate you. And then Karen, also, I thank you so much for coordinating all of this, setting all of this up, and then making sure people knew about it. So it's good. Thank you very much.
Very good. Yes. Take care, everyone.
And I will keep the room open for as long as anyone needs to take links out of the chat. You can also download links by choosing the little 3 dots, and then you can download a copy to a text file. But I put in a feedback survey, some upcoming events, and also links to the Seed Library at Rees Branch, things like that. So if that's helpful to you, thank you. Please take the survey. And thank you, Sandra. This was really great.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell me, Karen, again, the 3 dots to get the links that are in the chat so that I can get them? Oh, I see. Right.
You should be able to open up the meeting chat, and then at the very bottom, near, let me see if I can do it with you. There's at the very bottom where there's like a little place to click on an emoji button.
Yes.
Or the send button for if you type something in the text box right above. There's also 3 dots. If you click on that, you should be able to see something in the options that says save chat, and then that should save it to a text file on your computer.
Sandra, look at that new tool.
I know.
I never knew that. Karen, thank you.
Certainly, and also I'll keep the room open.
Times I've needed to do that. Oh my goodness.
Gosh. Wow. See, it takes all of us.
It
takes
does.
all of us. Yeah.
Karen, we can probably stop the recording, but I'm glad we didn't do it before we shared that chat tool with everyone. That's really
Very
helpful.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mary. Okay.
Thanks for coming.